So today I'm going to show you how to build furniture that will last for 100 years. And the reason I'm doing so is because I have not found a lot of resources online where people show you step by step how to construct a cabinet. Now there are a lot of videos of people building stuff, but you really have to look closely to see what they're doing. So about 20 years ago I bought a book called Furniture and Cabinet Construction by Andy Ray. Fantastic stuff. This became my Bible. I absorbed all the information in it. And now I use that information as a basis whenever I construct and design a cabinet. Now this dresser in particular is a hybrid build, meaning I used a combination of hand tools and machines. For example, all the dovetailing was done by hand, the mortise and tenons in the base were done by hand, but the mortise and tenons for the rails and the runners was done using a router, as was the molding on the top. Just for the sake of transparency, I want to put that out there. So, that being said, let me show you one example of how you can design a dresser. So before we start putting this together, let's take a look at how the sides are constructed. I have dados for the runners, and then I have half-blind dovetail sockets for the rails. On the top and the bottom, I have half-blind dovetails, because what I did was, instead of having a solid wood top and bottom, I decided to save wood and use these beams on the bottom and top. You'll see that as we put it together. And on the very top, I also have a notch for the buttons to hold on the top. So the first order of business is to put these bottom and top runners onto the sides. Okay, so I have the outside frame all together. The next step is to attach drawer runners to the bottom, because I did not use a solid piece of wood. I used 2 pieces of wood, so that means that the drawer needs to have runners to run upon. And since these rails were dovetailed into the side, I couldn't do tenon and mortise because it would be too difficult to put these in first and then put it all together. I wanted to make sure that everything fit before I put the runners in. So these will be pocket screwed into these rails. So let's do that next. Okay, so we have the bottom drawer runners in place, and the next thing I want to do is put the top on. Now the top is shaped like that, so the front sticks out like a lip over the front of the dresser. This means that normally I would, after attaching the top, I would put the front rails on and then put everything in from the back. But because of the shape of the front of the top, I'm going to attach the top, and then I'm going to put all the back rails in first. And then I'll temporarily put the back piece on the case so that I can put it down and then tap all the other rails and the dust protectors into place. So when I attach the top, in addition to using these buttons, which I showed you earlier, there's grooves that I mortised into the side to allow for wood movement. I have also drilled 4 holes into which the screws will go, and the holes are oversized to also allow for wood movement and make sure that the top doesn't split. So let's put the top on. And take the screws out of the buttons so that I can drill pilot holes, because the hardwood is not going to allow the screws to go in. All of the rails and the runners have grooves for dust panels, as well as mortises for all the tenons. So we're going to start by putting in the 3 back rails, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on each of the joints just to kind of hold it in place. And this is hide glue, by the way. I didn't melt it, it's the bottled stuff, but it works just the same. There's also a rabbet that goes along the whole outside of the case for the back. So these rails in the back are sunk in even further. That's why they're going beyond the dovetail mortise. Now after I make the drawers, I want to be able to get to the back of the case so that I can adjust them and also put in stops if needed. So I don't want to permanently affix the back of the case right now. However, I do want to put it on its back so that I can put all the other rails in and be able to hit them from the top without having these rails pop out. So in order to do that, I'm going to temporarily staple the back on using a staple gun. So the drawer runners have grooves in them as well for the dust panels, and I also drilled oversized holes so that I can secure them to the side with screws but still allow for wood movement of the sides so that it doesn't affect anything on the inside. Now before I do that, I'm going to put them in the dados in which they fit on the sides, and then I'm going to attach the front rails, after which I'll drill pilot holes and then screw them in permanently. Now, before I put the front rail in, I'm going to put in the dust panels. Actually, I can't do that, can I? I'm going to need to attach the sides before I put in the dust panels because I'm not going to be able to get to the holes if I put the dust panels in. So, scratch that. Let's make sure that these are in far enough before I screw them. I don't want to end up in a situation where the rails are keeping the front rails from going in. Now I purposely made them undersize so the tenons will be peeking out a little bit to account for wood movement. So we should be okay with them here. As long as they are flush and in the dados, we shouldn't have a problem. So let's screw these in. Okay, so now that the drawer runners are screwed in place, now I can put in the dust panels and the middle runners. Now that we have this in, now I can put in the top dividers for the 3 drawers at the top. And I just want to make sure I get these in the right places. Okay, so it's looking good. Now I have to put in the dividers, the drawer dividers inside to keep the drawers from going into each other's compartments. So, got that done. Now it's basically the same process, just to do the middle and the bottom rails. So I'll put those in and I'll show it to you when I got it finished. Ooh. Oh, close one. Oh, so, okay, what just happened was the drawer runners on the bottom are actually perfect size, and I had left them out when I screwed them in here. Luckily they're not glued. I didn't have them pushed back all the way. So that means we gotta push these back all the way. Luckily we were able to do that. Luckily we were able to do that. We were able to do this before the glue sat. The glue sat? Glue, whatever. Went off. All right, that I can live with. Looks like it's out a little bit, which is odd. I don't know what happened there. but I can plane that down and no problem. So there you go. Carcass is done. I had to knock the back off there, but it looks like it's undamaged, so that'll be fine to put back on. And the next step is to put the base on and then make the drawers. So this is the base of the case. I turned the front two legs, the back ones are square, and I have drilled pilot holes on the bottoms here. So I'm going to insert screws coming up through the bottom into the bottom of the case. I have flipped over the case so that it is standing upside down, and I'm going to put the bottom on like that, and I'm going to attach it with screws. And there you go. So I have the base on. This is how it looks. The only thing left to do fabrication wise is to make some molding, which I will put along the front here in between the base and the dresser, and also on the sides to cover up all this part and make it look nice. Then I just have to plane down some of the joints, sand it, finish it, and make all the drawers, and it'll be done. So this is just one way that I make a dresser. I've made dressers in the past, or actually small little nightstands and stuff that are all mortise and tenon, and it's much cleaner on the outside. You can't see any of the joints, but personally I like the dovetails. Since you spend so much time, especially doing handmade dovetails, you know, I like to accent them or use them as accents on my furniture. So that's how I do it. There's lots of other different ways you can, but this type of furniture, if you build it this way, it'll last for 100 years. So I hope that helped you, and thanks for watching.